Good evening to our February 11th, 2019 meeting of the West Orange Board of Education. Mr. Calamano.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. To begin, I need a motion for consideration of the closed and public meeting minutes of January 28th and January 30th.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All
Which one?
Betty?
Mark made the motion, I seconded.
Mrs. Merklinger?
Yes.
Mr. Robertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Trigg Scales?
Yes.
Vice President Mordecai?
Yes.
President Alper?
Yes. Okay. Next up, our student liaison report.
For this meeting, we don't have anything new to share, just like a few updates and things we wanted to keep checking up on. At the Chamber of Commerce annual breakfast, I think Mayor Parisi made an announcement about the AVL systems. I'm not sure. I wanted to confirm that, and if there's been any progress concerning the AVL systems in general, and with if IDs are if we're still considering using IDs to swipe to get on a bus, and if you thought about younger grades as well, if this AVL system is gonna go to the younger children as well, and we want to know if they're pardon. Oh
No, go ahead.
We wanted to know if there's any updates with the parking lot study, and if there was any information that we could get from the report as well. If there's any plan moving forward with whatever the report said, and if there's been any consideration with delayed school days, and if there's been any movement on this, any thought about it. We found a report that basically details all the pros and cons of delaying school days. We can share and print out with you. It's basically a compilation of, I believe, 38 studies that were done over the course of, I would say, over about 20 years. Sorry, thank you. And one from Ms. Mendes. Oh, one more? Just to give a brief overview of it, I think it's pretty common knowledge at this point, but youth, especially youth in America, suffer from severe lack of sleep and sleep deprivation. And while adolescents need about 9 hours of sleep per night, only 8%, according to this report, only 8% receive this amount. And whatever the percentage of students that receive proper amount of sleep, which is about 8 or more hours, it decreases as you get older. It's even been pushed by the CDC, who strongly suggest that students don't, especially middle school and high school students, don't start school before 8:30 a.m., but 93% of high school students in the United States start school before 8:30. So it's a nationwide issue, it's not just here. So insufficient sleep has been linked to over the course of all these studies. Some of them vary from 1998 until some of them at 2014, where insufficient sleep has been linked to poor mental health. That elaborates more on depression, depressive symptoms, even suicidal ideation, poor physical health, behavioral problems, poor academic grades, and so on, and even can go as far as risky behavior and even increased school violence-related behaviors. And some studies even have found that delaying school starts even decreases chances of motor vehicle accidents in students. Even a delay as much as a delay of an hour in a Kentucky County decreased motor vehicle crashes by 16.5%, while in the entire state of Kentucky, the rate for that age group of high school students actually went up 7.8%. So this is just, if you want to look more into it, we provided the link in the title, and then in the name of the article as well. So it has a lot more information as well, but this is some of the most important we found, and we're hoping that this will provide a little push
And the last page, last meeting, I mentioned we could make a chart, so the last page is just that. And then last, we just want to talk about the Black History Scholarship Dinner, and that was really successful. We raised enough money for more than one scholarship this year, so thank you for everyone who attended.
That's fantastic, thank you.
Sure. Good evening. Regarding AVL, so what did Mr. Parisi say?
I'm not sure. I just remember, I think he mentioned it briefly, something. I don't know exactly what.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe what he said was that the township was going to help with the cost of the technology for the buses.
Okay. Yes, they are. So what we're doing is, it's just, we have to wait for a more formal proposal and what those would look like. We're still negotiating with the vendor. At our last board meeting, I think I mentioned that initially they had said there were grants available up to $50,000, that we had only qualified for, I think it was $23,000. We went back to them. They did increase it to up to, I think we're up to $29,000, and there was a $21,000 installation cost that has now come off. So now we are in our ballpark. And so I did meet with Mayor Parisi, and he was very amenable and collaborative in saying that he would, through township grants, work with us. He is waiting for us to be able to provide him some hard figures. Again, we're still negotiating. Tomorrow, we did have on our calendar, but now we will have closed school tomorrow due to the weather and the state of emergency. Tomorrow, we did have on our calendar a full-day meeting with the Transportation Department, hours plus our contracted services, so that we could begin to analyze our routes and look at the scenarios with this in mind, delayed school days, to see if transportation would be feasible. So we will postpone that. But it was on our calendar for tomorrow, so everybody's already aware, and we're looking at it for multiple reasons. I've asked Mr. Moore, Principal Moore, to establish a committee. We've gone through committee members and who should be on that committee to begin to explore the delayed school opening for the high school and its impact on the rest of the district. So that committee is being formed. And we will start meeting shortly. Regarding the parking lot, Mr. Moore also presented to us a redesign of a traffic pattern. He will be preparing a formal presentation to make to the board. So we can expect that to be coming shortly as well. And his interest is simply to avoid some of the congestion, a lot of the congestion in the high school parking lot during drop-off, in order to provide a safer opportunity for the students to enter the buildings where they're not crossing the roads and parents and drop-offs aren't being made while buses are also entering the school. So it's a very comprehensive plan. Again, he'll have that opportunity to present it to the board.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was really, really helpful. I really like getting the data. I think that was fantastic.
Just one question and comment on that. When the topic of delayed opening came up, at this point it's probably 7 or 8 years ago, at the time there was feedback, and I don't remember if it was done through a formal survey or through feedback sessions. There was feedback from some parents that they wanted their child in high school or in middle school to then pick up the elementary school, hence the staggered times. Has the committee considered, I mean, forming a committee is great, but I think that we could, without any expense at all, whether it's Mr. Moore did it or somebody else, without any expense at all, at least field a survey that could be done, accessed at the website, notified people through the PTA, and that won't reach everyone. We would still have to, at some point, for those who didn't feel comfortable doing the survey online, do something on paper, but at least to get initial data as to, how they would feel, pro, con, what the ramifications would be, and it could be 3 to 5 questions to at least get some data as to where parents are in relation to this topic. And I love the information. You did really phenomenal report here, and even showing the difference in delayed times and how that would impact elementary, middle, and high school. This is really superb. All the research that you did. I mean, there's definitely this overwhelming evidence that more sleep is better from a safety standpoint, from a health standpoint, and from a performance standpoint. And there's some new data also that's come about that the teen circadian rhythm is different. It's not just a matter of teens wanting to stay up later. Their bodies, their circadian rhythm is different such that they're more inclined to stay up later. So they would begin their sleep cycle later, and that would then require, in order to get enough sleep, that their morning started later. So this is, there's a wealth of scientific evidence on this now. But how, perhaps it's just recommending it to Mr. Moore and the committee, but a survey could be easily fielded.
Absolutely. That would be a function of the committee. Absolutely.
Okay. So perhaps you...
In regards to the survey, we were actually planning on sending it out to students. So if possible, the parents can also access that survey by looking over their children's shoulders. And if there's anything that they'd like to add about delaying school timings and what they think, we can include a section in that survey.
That may work. Just thinking about how a lot of your friends and their parents may interact or not in some cases, it may still help to communicate the existence of the survey and access to the survey to the parents through other channels, like the PTA, like e-blast from the principal, email blast from the principal, et cetera, so that you're not necessarily relying on the communication between parent and child, which varies from household to household, child to child, and varies at the stage of development. But that way the parents could respond to say, well, we have 3 kids. We have a child elementary, middle, and high school. So, but we need the high school child to go pick up the other 2 or something to that effect. But talk with Mr. Moore and the committee about how to roll that out, what channels we could use to roll it out to the parents, while you're already doing a great job of getting the information, engaging the students in responding to that. Well done. Once again, you're amazing.
I just want to add, thank you for doing all that research. That was really good, and I look forward to reading it thoroughly later. Mr. Mendez, a few years ago, when we did change the times by about 10 minutes, we were able to save $700,000 in our budget. So please keep that in mind when you're changing the times back. Thank you.
And if I could just add, one of the things that I would ask that you look at is the NJSIA rules when it comes to when after-school athletics can begin. That does have a domino effect on our younger youth sports programs. So the later the high school ends, the later our younger athletes, so our 6 and 7-year-olds who already are starting practice at 6:30, 7 o'clock, would now get bumped to possibly 8 o'clock. So just something that we need to think about, what that domino effect looks like when you move school end times, and what the NJSIA rules are in terms of when athletics can begin and end.
That's a great point.
Anything? Okay. Thank you very much. Before we send it over for the superintendent report, I just want to announce, it was posted last week. I don't know if a lot of people were able to see this, but I'm very pleased to be able to announce that a week ago today, the board in the West Orange Education Association, the teachers union, we were able to get together and sign the teachers contract. That was agreed to back in the summer of 2017 by both sides, went into effect then. With the exception of a few leftover contractual interpretation issues, they've been resolved. Separately, the board and the association were able to work out a mutual agreement to fairly compensate everyone who stayed into the night back in November to care for our students during Stormageddon, Snowmageddon, I'm not sure which we're going with, but we're very happy to be able to announce that's been taken care of as well. All in all, very excited to be able to get this all accomplished just 1 month into this new year, and I look forward to continuing to collaborate. The board, the administration of the association, we're all 3 of us partners in our children's education, and it's great to be able to work together. Second announcement on the search for a permanent superintendent, just to update everyone on that, the board has decided to issue an RFP for search firms to conduct a search for a permanent superintendent. That RFP has gone out. It's gone directly to search firms. It's also on the website. It'll also appear in the Star Ledger this coming weekend for those who still prefer that model. This weekend, those RFPs, they'll be up this weekend, rather. Those RFPs are due back in just 2 weeks, so we should be selecting and then starting to work with the winning firm fairly soon. So with that, it's time for the superintendent report.
Great. Earlier this month, I had the opportunity, along with the majority of my colleagues here, to attend the Black History Month celebration at the high school. Wow. It was so beautifully executed. The students did a phenomenal job. Thank you to Connors, all of the, Catherine is her name, the other, all right, Gonzalez, the ladies here, all of the students who participated. The poetry was exquisite, the dance, the rendition, the interpretation of history, and the contribution of forerunners and the people who came before us, and the impact on our education and the impact on our free speech and on our rights. And it was just beautiful. I'm just grateful and honored to be a part of the leadership here and to be able to see what it's producing in our students. Gregory also earlier this month was featured on News 12 for the Week of Kindness and all of the things that the students did, the teachers, how they are being mindful, the term that we're hearing, how they're being mindful to be kind to others. So they were featured on that, so congratulations to Gregory. And something that's not on the agenda, we are going to have our Honors Committee meeting on February 20th at 6:15 p.m. So parents who would like to attend or be a part of that committee can speak with Ms. Veneziano, who's here in our audience. We will be re-looking at the criteria, and then we will be getting input so that we can make a presentation to the board at the last meeting in February regarding honors. And just an announcement, you should have received your text, your email, and your phone call that West Orange Public Schools are going to be closed tomorrow due to the pending weather and the state of emergency, so we will be closed tomorrow. And then I have the HIB report. Any questions? All right.
Okay, up next, questions from the public on agenda items only. Come on up to the microphone, tell us your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes, and Mr. Calavano will work the clock.
Good evening, Robin Iserlis, 22 Yale Terrace. First, I just wanted to thank the students for their wonderful report yet again. And I just do want to say from a parent perspective that I hope the decisions about whether to start school early will be inspired more by the science on academics than our sports program, because I think that's kind of important. Secondly, thank you for talking about the honors program. If it is open to the community, is that going to be is that word going to be spread out? And can you make that pretty prominent on the, on the website so that parents who want to come they'll know that they'll be able to come. And secondly, there were a dizzying array of initiatives under the former superintendent, and I've been hearing piecemeal from people attending PTA meetings that there may be changes whether it's the honors program, the ESL, the GNT, the SAT prep course. I'm just wondering, I know in the past, way back when, there used to be yearly curriculum meetings in February that were open to the public, but there were no public comment, but as far as I remember, that you used to hold. Can we maybe see if we can get that back into the calendar, if not this February, because we're almost over, maybe soon, so that parents could be made more aware of what changes are going on, even if they're not set yet, just know that they're in the pipeline. So I just wanted to say that. And the other thing is, thank you for the update about the superintendent search. I'm very happy to hear that a RFP is going out to search firms. I think that's the way to go. And I'm curious about what that will look like in terms of community, outreach to be part of that process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicole Rufo for Overlook Avenue. First, I want to thank again our student representatives. It's always so nice to hear from you. And I also, I have young children, but I do see the bus at 6:45 coming to the corner to pick up the high school children. And I've been having this conversation with my 5th grader about what that will be like. So I do think it will benefit all of the children to look at that, and especially with the data. And then regarding the Black History celebration, the scholarship event, I wasn't able to attend, but I did watch the video, and it was all kind of live streamed online, which was nice. And I was really moved by Dr. Johnson Dias. Her speech was really powerful, and I'm sure you all heard it. 13 minutes. I would say everyone in West Orange should listen to this speech. And I think what was so powerful about it is I do think that West Orange, in my 6 years of parenting here, has improved and is always going further with Black History Month celebrations. But I just think what she called out about it being not just in February and not just in social studies was so important. And I was just moved by her words. And you can find the 13-minute speech on the Grassroots Facebook page. I just like that she brought up how Black history is all of our history, and I think that the more that it's taught throughout the year, and I'm nearly 40 years old, and I keep learning more and more stories of people who've contributed to help my life and the life of people around me. So I'm excited for my kids. I love hearing what they're bringing home, what they're learning, and I do believe we can always do more. There are hard conversations that happen to have with race in America, and I do believe we need to really work with our teachers first. Our staff and our teachers need really wonderful training and a safe environment to have these hard discussions, and they need to have them in the school, professional development. There are so many wonderful places that you can have trainers come in. They can train the staff to then work with the other staff members. Teachingtolerance.org is a wonderful resource. And the staff can spend time in the professional development addressing this critical social justice and anti-bias education topics. And I know a lot of friends who are teachers who are having these really incredible conversations in the schools, and the teachers are actually being trained to then lead the staff in these discussions. And then that can then help with their teaching to the children in the school. I would also ask that our district takes a serious look at how we are complying with the recommendations by the Amistad curriculum. And I know that this has been brought up at other board meetings before. I would love for, and I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she came to speak last year to a group of us. She runs the Amistad curriculum. Amazing. It was put in 2002, and it calls for the New Jersey schools to incorporate African American history into their social studies curriculum in order to provide an accurate, complete, and inclusive history. So I would love to know more about how we're utilizing that. Yeah. Yes, she was amazing. And we need her to come talk to us, too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else on agenda items? All right, seeing none. Ms. Mendes.
Regarding, Ms. Izard, the honors committee, absolutely, we can post that. It is the committee members. I do want to then open it up, however, to other parents if they're interested in serving on that committee. So we will post that. Regarding the curriculum meetings that were held yearly in February, I'll look into that. I do know that we're planning something for this year in the area of curriculum a little different so that we can really have some engagement with our parents and our community around our curriculum. So we can present on that in an upcoming board meeting. Regarding the Black History Month and our Amistad curriculum and how we're integrating it. What we've done is we've done a side-by-side of how it is integrated into the curriculum, specifically in social studies. That's posted on our website. I will, though, have Mr. Figueredo or Mr. Oshalski come and present, because that has come up a few times. And we can talk about how it's integrated into the other content areas as well through our reading. And absolutely understood, and about the training for the teachers and how we can work with our teachers to continue to develop clarity about our history and its role and its impact on our students.
All right. On the search community input topic, we need, once we pick a vendor, we'll work that out with them exactly, and I'm sure they're going to have their own preferred process for exactly how it works. What we're going to be looking for is something that definitely takes in a large amount of community input from a lot of different stakeholders across the community, and we'll figure out exactly what that is, but we certainly understand the importance of that, and we'll make sure that happens. Just in terms of start times, I think the reference to sports practices isn't that it would affect sports practices, it's that it would push it back so that the youngest kids would now be starting practice later, which means they'd be getting home later, which means they'd be getting to bed later. So I think it's just one of the many factors that we have to think about when we talk about start times, that there's always unintended consequences, whether that's trains for parents in the morning, or how late the littlest ones are getting to bed, or if somebody's out at a bus stop early in the morning. So it's all stuff that I think the committee will be looking at and that we'll be hearing from, and I'm sure for everything we think of now, they'll think of 5 more, because there's a lot there. So closing that section. Oh, you have something? Go ahead.
Sure.
Mr. Mendez, several years ago when I first got on the board, there was a racial incident, and that led to a diversity study. I would like us to do another diversity study, an update, to see if the recommendations that were made then have been completed, and just exactly what we have left to do. And along that line, we used to have a diversity committee that met quite often, and we haven't met in a few years. So it would be good if we started that up again.
We're in the process of reassembling the diversity committee. We've identified the roles, we've identified the charge. We are in process with that, so you'll hear about that shortly. I will look into the report.
Thank you.
And I just have a question regarding the diversity committee. Does that replace the affirmative action committee, or is that in conjunction with, or
One
where
of the
does that fit?
tasks of the committee will be to take a look at affirmative action and that plan and setting those goals that we don't have in place right now.
As far as personnel and hiring,
Correct.
it will do all of that?
Correct.
Very good.
The diversity committee also included the West Orange Human Relations Commission. It's West Orange Human Relations Commission and members of the faculty and staff here at the high school. I believe Dr. Sayer attended, Principal Moore attended, as well as Assistant Principal Leslie Chung. I don't know if that's going to be the makeup when you're finished, but there are many pieces to it, and the community at large.
Also, and I applaud the idea of the diversity committee and bringing that back, and having a real diversity plan and a real affirmative action plan with concrete, measurable goals. As we're doing that, because our teachers are helping to develop our kids on a daily basis, couldn't we simultaneously, and versus waiting for the committee to get into motion, the committee to plan and all that, could not we be exploring who's out there to do diversity and cross-cultural training or cultural competence training? I think, both can happen simultaneously, because I'm worried that sometimes our tendency is to solve something, we're going to form a committee, which is good for getting input and engagement, but then it puts off, we end up in this constant cycle of delay. We've been talking about this, it's not your fault at all, I'm saying, but we've been talking about this for years, and I can't count how many incidents during that time I'm aware of a child. Most of our teachers are absolutely wonderful and fantastic, but even the best teacher sometimes needs that guidance into how to engage a child properly from a cultural standpoint. And then there are teachers with whom there are some greater issues, and I'm not going to go into detail, but the stories are numerous. And sometimes parents, rather than following up on it will just leave the district. And I have many of those stories as well. So I think that now is the time to act as well as the time to plan and form committees. And that we have the ability, there's some fantastic organizations out there, some that are associated with universities, and we could talk about that later, but we could do an exploratory RFP or some sort of call out there to see, to at least start to screen potential trainers in diversity and cross-cultural training. Just would like to see this move ahead.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is reports, discussions, and recommendations. I need a motion for item A, personnel, items 1 through 4.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All right, Mr. Calavano?
Mrs. Merklinger,
Yes.
Mr. Robertson,
Yes.
Mrs. Trigg Scales,
Yes.
Vice President Mordecai,
Yes.
President Alper.
Yes. Next, we'll need a motion for item B, curriculum and instruction, 1 through 3, plus the addendum.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All right, Mr. Calavano?
Mrs. Merklinger,
Yes.
Mr. Robertson,
Yes.
Mrs. Trigg Scales,
Yes.
and you also have,
Except me.
Vice President Mordecai,
Yes.
President Alper.
Yes, except myself on item 1. Next, a motion for C, finance, special services 1 through 5, and business office 1 through 5.
I'll make a motion.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes, please.
Sure.
On business office, B, item number 3, recommending approval of increase in contract amount for Clary Jacoby, Alfieri Jacobs, General Counsel for the West Orange Schools by additional amount not to exceed $105,000. Previously approved not to exceed $125,000 from 2018 to 2019 school year on 618 agenda. In terms of the incremental amount, I would really like to see us table this and have further discussion. Last year, we spent an incremental $80,000 hiring a second law firm simultaneously with our board law firm to do investigation. But, there were many times when there were overlapping duties. We spent an $80,000 additional dollars, and it came about because of concerns about conflict with the law firm and capabilities in being able to do an investigation. And there have been other issues that have arisen. I think that because we've been their client since 2013, that now's the time to just pause, take a look back, and negotiate some of these numbers down. We're just paying, and always approving more. And if last year was a lesson where we had to hire a second law firm and pay $80,000 more, I think now's a good time to have that conversation and to say, let's just press pause and discuss getting some reductions in the bill.
Anyone further?
Yes. I just want to point out an item number 3 under finance, special services, the Center for Autism Early Childhood Mental Health. We signed an MOU with Montclair State University several years ago for that program. So I'm not sure how come that was under the IDA. That should not have been. I'm glad we're correcting it here, but they should never be under the IDA. This was a specific agreement, and actually it was the idea of a Kelly parent to contract with them, and we've been in contract with them for about 3 or 4 years now. So just like to make sure that we don't make that error again. And what else? Mr. Calavano, can you explain the non-public security aid program for the non-public schools for the public? I know you've done it before, but it's a new year.
So non-public schools receive aid through West Orange School District, public school district. They receive security aid, technology aid, textbook aid, nursing aid. So this represents, number 2 represents the security aid. Originally, they received their numbers in the beginning of the school year, and then the state just came out with additional funding for the non-publics, and it actually doubled from the original. So this resolution is to accept the funding, but also when there's certain expenditures, you'll also see a resolution to approve those expenditures for the non-public school.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, then I will make a formal motion to table the Cleary Giacobbe bill to further discuss billing with the law firm. That's Business Office B, item number 3.
Is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, so on the table, Mrs. Merklinger?
So a yes vote would be a
This is
vote to table.
Table, yes. And it's just this one item we're doing right now.
Correct.
Yes, do I?
Maybe you
Go
did.
ahead. Okay, just, I know there's an overwhelming number of Oprah requests, and that's caused some of the increase in the work that the attorneys have had to do. So I just would like to take a look at and just further discuss what's been going on and why we're receiving so many Oprah requests.
Mr. Robertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Trigg Scales?
Yes.
Vice President Mordecai?
Yes.
President Alper?
Yes.
Okay, so that item's tabled. Are we ready now to move the remainder of the resolutions in finance?
Yes.
Mrs. Merklinger?
Yes.
Mr. Robertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Trigg Scales?
Yes.
Vice President Mordecai?
Yes, and I'm abstaining on vendor number 5477.
And President Alper?
Yes. All right, next we need a motion for item D, reports numbers 1 through 2.
I'll motion.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Gallivan.
Mrs. Merklinger?
Yes.
Mr. Robertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Trigg Scales?
Yes.
Vice President Mordecai?
Yes.
President Alper?
Yes. All right, next up, reports from board members. Ms. Trigg Scales.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I had occasion to be in the company of Assemblywoman Mila Jacey last week, and she wanted to know what was going on in West Orange, and would we like to come in and talk to her and let her know what we need in West Orange. So after I stopped jumping up and down, I said yes. We most definitely would like to make an appointment. And so President Alper, you and I are on the legislative committee, so we'll have to find a time to go in and meet with Assemblywoman Jacey. One of the things that she's working on currently with Caldwell College is diversity of staff and how we need to grow teachers. We need to work with the local colleges and universities and look for students who are interested in becoming teachers and support them. One of the big things, as I've mentioned before, is not just recruiting, but retention. And so this is something she's looking at, and I told her we would be very interested in having a conversation with her. The other thing I wanted to ask is what the history is here in West Orange about the Governor's Teacher Award. Is that something we've done? Is that something we've chosen not to do?
We've done it in the past. I can't give you exact statistics off the top of my head, but
Okay.
we've done it in the past.
But I notice many districts are celebrating their teachers right now, and so I'd like to investigate that and see if that's something that West Orange can bring back so that we can celebrate our excellent staff here in West Orange. Each school gets to nominate a teacher, and then a committee is formed, and one selects the teacher
That
for
would
the
be
district, and then they compete
Yeah.
at the county level and then at the state level. So I think we need to certainly be in that pool for next year.
Great idea.
Gifted and talented. I've been doing some research, and I realized that we have a gifted policy here in West Orange, but we don't have a talented policy. which is very disappointing, having witnessed all of that talent last week at the Black History Month program. And so and I'm on the policy committee too, with Ms. Mordecai. So I would like us to take another look at our gifted and add talented policy, because currently it appears that we are just identifying students in ELA, math, and STEM. And so we need to turn that STEM into STEAM and put those arts in there and recognize all of the talent that we have here in this district. And again, I would like to commend the Student Council and their advisors for an outstanding program. And I know we had a little bit of a tease of the STEP teams. And I think on Friday, we're having a regional competition at the high school. Is it Saturday? Saturday. I already have my ticket, and I hope that everyone joins us. Phenomenal, phenomenal. I wanted to also commend Gregory School for their kindness challenge, and I'd like to challenge our district to have a kindness challenge all the time, not just now, but to be kind to each other, and I think it should start with the board. I think we can set an example for the rest of the district, and that we promote kindness throughout the year, just as we talked about promoting the study of Black history and the contributions throughout the year. I think kindness is not just 1 week. I think it needs to be a posture that we take here in the district. So I challenge my board members to a kindness challenge. And to that point, last month was Board of Education Recognition Month in the state of New Jersey. It went rather unnoticed here in West Orange, but I'm going to celebrate us. I'm going to recognize us. I've been on the board for, I've had, let's see, is it 5 weeks? No, 5 weeks, okay. Celebrating my 5th week.
There you go.
I had no idea exactly what it meant to be a board member, of course, because you have to be one. It's like getting married. People tell you what it's like to be a wife or a husband, but until you do it, you really don't know. And so this has been a very interesting 5 weeks, getting to know my fellow board members. But we've been involved in trainings because we're going to look for a new superintendent. You see us here twice a month, and you know that we meet before you come, and you know that sometimes we meet after. But what you don't know is all the other times that we are involved in Board of Education activities, whether it's attending events or whether it is researching at home or whether it is going to training. I just decided to write down the number of hours I put in January.
Don't do this.
Don't tell
We need
them?
other people to run in the future.
Okay, I can't tell you.
Now I'm curious.
26 hours in the month of January. Now, I say to you that that's unusual because we're searching for a superintendent. So I just want you to join me in recognizing your West Orange Board of Education. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was lovely. Ms. Mordecai.
Thank you. I can't follow that. I totally agree with you. I have not done the math, but we do spend countless hours. I know since the year started, I've already been to Trenton and back 3 times for full-day sessions with Mr. Alper and Mr. Mendez for one Friday. We're taking off from work and spending the whole day in Trenton. And a couple Saturday mornings on other trainings that I've attended. And I know 3 or 4 of you attended training this past Saturday morning. So there's a lot of training going on there, but I have not done the math. And yes, happy Board Member Recognition Month last month to you. We talked about it last month that normally the PTA would give us a certificate of some sort, but we've been busy. So we just kind of fell under the radar. And in the past, the town council has given us a certificate. So I also attended the Black History Month dinner. And yes, Dr. Johnson was amazing. She always is. I've heard her speak several times. And the students, wow. And I agree. I totally agree with you. We need an AP dance program. We talked about that as we saw the dancers come out. We just started our dance program a few years ago. We've been advocating for it for some time and finally found out that it was a performing arts requirement. So we have beginner's dance, intermediate, advanced, but we don't have AP dance. So Mr. Mendez, if there's money left in the budget, there's another ask. I think that's all I have for today.
Mr. Robertson.
Well, the other thing I took, well, first of all, Ms. Trick-Scales, thank you for doing the board member recognition kickoff. I hate to tell you that you're actually going to end up putting in more time as we go into budget period. And that's every year. That that one won't change. So you'll be in the trenches a lot. One of the things that struck me about the Black History Month dinner was not only the amazing amount of talent that we have, but listening to the original poetry from folks like Olivia Ridley and other folks. I think if we listen very carefully, our students are telling us a lot about what they're feeling, what they're experiencing as a black person or African American person in America, in West Orange. And we need to go back and listen because they're giving us some insights, as to their own sense of the challenges they face, the conflicts they face, in their own evolution, as well as in their social environment. And it's powerful. I felt that night was so powerful in so many ways. Also had, Ms. Merklinger and I were together at the hockey senior night, and it was exciting. Davey was on fire, so was Kaylin and Chris. It was an amazing night. I'd swear the Davey has a magnet on his stick that the puck sticks to. But all the seniors were out. Our valedictorians was a senior on the team, Daniel Feinblatt, and just watching all the seniors and all the players, it was a very exciting night. And it was a thrill and an honor to be there. Also wanted to give a shout out. This goes back to all the incredible talent we have for our drama among our drama and theater students. Olivia Ridley, Maria Naliath, Izana Nagash, and Melanie Chamorro were all drama students who won awards in the 2019 Speech and Theater Association New Jersey competition. Olivia won a first place in the Governor's Award, and with her monologue, along with freshman Marian Eliath, who won first place for a musical duet. But all these young ladies, and it was just really, we have a phenomenal amount of talent, phenomenal. And I think there's also, was it Vina, Stefan? But we should just really cherish how much talent we have, and really listen to their messages. Also, I think, was that it? Oh, had the chance to participate in AJ Petrucci's, our star soccer goalie's signing for his full ride scholarship, soccer and academic scholarship to St. John's, and that was exciting. And what was really cool is that for his signing, and I'm forgetting the young man's name who signed for football, this place was packed. The students came out for their friends, for their teammates, and for people who weren't their friends. They came out to cheer everybody on. It was this amazing sense of camaraderie here, and it was like one big party just to make sure that these two kids knew how much they were appreciated and how everybody's happy for them. It was really beautiful. It was a beautiful experience. I think that was it, but thank you.
Thank you. Ms.
Sure. So along with Ken and Terry, I got to go to training on Saturday morning at Montville High School. And one of the folks at our table mentioned AAA, which is arts, academics, and athletes. And being, my thing is always ending on a positive note. I just wanted to point out some of the positive things that are going on here in West Orange. So I was able to attend both the Black History Scholarship Dinner, which fortunately the girls' basketball game, I know we were all excited to have the game that night, but it got postponed, so it worked out that we could all go to both events and not run back and forth through the high school. So the kids did a great job at the scholarship dinner. That was amazing. Sandra, Terry, and myself all attended the basketball game for the 33rd anniversary of National Girls and Women in Sports. The theme was Lead Her Forward. They had awesome shirts. There was a lot of halftime activities, and I apologize, I can't recall her name, but she did the announcing at the basketball game and just highlighted all the great female athletes we have here in West Orange and all the amazing accomplishments that they've had. So that was really fun. Like Mark said, we had senior night for hockey. We also had senior night for boys basketball, where they came so close to being Immaculate Conception. It was a great game. So congratulations to both the hockey and basketball seniors. Good luck next year. Our bowling team, they won the ECADA tournament, and they are also the SEC Liberty Division title winners. They, I believe, are taking on the West Orange hockey team in a fun match on Friday, I think, at Eagle Rock Lanes. So kind of a little competition going on there. Our cheerleaders were just at Nationals down in Florida. I haven't heard how we did, but I'm looking forward to hearing the results of that. I also want to point out our counselors in our district and our support staff. It was National School Counseling Week. Those of you that follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook probably saw all of our counselors were highlighted. So thank you to all of those folks. I'm sure we've seen a lot's been going on with mental illness in at the Grammys. They mentioned it. It's been something that's been part of my life that I've been focused on. Mr. Moore is also working on it with Ebony. So that's something that we definitely want to focus on, and we appreciate all that our counselors do for us. Want to say congrats to Colin Morgan. He's one of 60 New Jersey seniors that's accepted to West Point. Mark mentioned AJ, but it was also Tayo Akinbode, who also signed to play football at Susquehanna University, so that's great, and we want to keep seeing those signing days and recognizing all of our student athletes, as well as our folks in arts and academics that are getting those scholarships. And something we might want to consider is doing signing days for those folks as well, for those students as well. Those are huge accomplishments to get scholarships to college, so definitely want to recognize all of those students. I want to congratulate Amori Richards and Sandra Guerrero. They took first place in their classes at the wrestling tournament last weekend at Raritan High School. They're up next Sunday for regionals at Red Bank High School, so if anyone's down the shore in the area, I'd say go check them out. They are awesome. The boys wrestling has districts this weekend. The indoor track has the NJS IAA group relays. Those are amazing if you've ever gone to one of those relays. I believe West Orange is holding the College and Career Planning Night on Wednesday. Yep. So for folks that are interested, we have that coming up. The stepping competition, like Terry mentioned, is Saturday here at West Orange High. For those that were planning to go to the music festival, the music faculty scholarship concert tomorrow, it's now postponed to the 19th. So just make that little change in your planners. It's 7 o'clock at Liberty. The high school ROTC program is having a shoe drive, so if you have any gently used shoes, I would highly encourage you to donate them, and you can drop them off at the high school. They're doing that drive through the 22nd. Roosevelt's Junior Interact group is doing a coat drive through the 18th. Roosevelt's also having a teacher appreciation breakfast on Wednesday, so we want to recognize our teachers for that. Liberty has a fundraiser every Monday. If you want to support a local business, Jersey Mike's is donating 20% of their sales to Liberty. So that's a great thing and helping the community and our schools. Mount Pleasant had their Valentine's Day dance. I heard it was a huge success. So I'm really happy to see our elementary schools are getting involved as well. Gregory is close to my heart. That's my elementary alma mater. So I was really happy to be back there for the Kindness Challenge and seeing all the folks and all the students. Some of the teachers there I grew up with, so it was great to touch base with them again. They are doing a family skate night at Cody Arena on February 23rd, which I believe is free admission, except for the skates. You have to pay for rentals, which is, I think, $4 I saw. The Mayor's Breakfast was last weekend, and just to recognize our salutatorian is Max Dickman, and the valedictorian is Daniel Feinblatt, so congratulations to them. That's a huge accomplishment as well. And then for those of you that did not hear yet, but our 45th annual Unico Breakfast, which recognizes our scholar student athletes, is being held on February 24th at 10 a.m. in the Tarnoff Cafeteria. And while that was a long list of all the fun things going on in the district, there is no school next Monday, so just a reminder of that.
Oh, just a little add-on?
Yeah.
I'd like to add, and Doc Gooden is the guest speaker
Yes.
at the
Yes.
Unico Breakfast.
That's going to be awesome.
So looking forward to
Looking
seeing
forward
Doc
to that.
Gooden and hearing him speak.
Yeah.
I just want to add, while at the Kindness Challenge at Gregory last week, I took the liberty of taking a tour of the sensory path. I was excited to see the OT using it at the time I was there. And I remember last year when it went viral on YouTube, we talked about it in district. So I know some of the other PTAs are looking into funding to have a sensory path at each school. And it would be nice to have some consistency across elementary schools. I know a lot of schools like their own little identity. You know, Redwood is a school with heart and whatever. But the sensory path is really helpful to special learners. So we need to think about that as well. Thank you.
Just a little add-on to, Ms. Merklener mentioned Colin getting into West Point. I believe, and I'm double-checking this, that we are actually the only high school in New Jersey where we had 3 students, early admittance, Colin, Vanessa, and Wes, to West Point. Early admittance before congressional interviews, and that's pretty amazing. It speaks a lot for our ROTC program. And then Colin's case, he's also a Boy Scout. We crank out a lot of Boy Scouts and Eagle Scouts in West Orange, and there's a culture of it here. But it speaks a lot for the families because it takes a lot of dedication on the family's part. But I mean, that's a tremendous achievement for those 3 incredible young people.
All right. For myself, the Kindness Challenge was fun. It's always fun to watch the little ones come in and say hi to all of them and do those high fives and everything. That was a great morning. The Black History Scholarship Dinner was also fantastic. And, you know, Sodexo really can cook. That was a great meal as well, along with all the performances. Yeah. You know, it's funny, the training we were at Saturday, they started it, the whole point was, it was called Making Meetings Matter. So it was really about meeting management and such. And they started with this. They said, be brief, be brilliant, be gone. So I'm going to try to keep that in mind in terms of being a little more terse when we can. Our next board meeting will be held at 8 p.m. right here on February 25th. So you've been notified of that. And next up, time for petitions and hearings of citizens. So you can come up and speak to us for any reason for 3 minutes. Give us your name and your address, and Mr. Calabano will work the clock.
Rachel Gordon, 8 Meeker Street, also a member of WOCAS. Before I say what I'm going to say, I just wanted to, again, the student liaisons, I've been really impressed and that you're sticking to and coming back to topics, and so keep up the great work. Okay, so 2 things. I have a couple things for me, but Elizabeth Redwine is sick with the flu, so she asked me to read these 2 things. How do the members of the board and acting superintendent feel about the proposed bill A-1400? Governor Christie in 2016 signed legislation to allow Class 3 officers in schools as security officers. This bill, A-1400, extends who is eligible to be the Class 3 officers in schools. It allows retired state and county corrections officers ineligible for the classification. There is no evidence that a bill like this makes anyone safer, and I and many gun safety advocates feel it is a dangerous idea. And her second point was Students in the middle school have expressed concern about bias from a teacher. The principal has dealt with the issue well, and I don't want to reveal names and put anyone in a difficult position, but this incident is not unusual and shows how the ideas expressed by Ms. Trigg-Scales about the importance of training in these areas are so important and should happen as soon as possible. Is the board pursuing this kind of training for teachers? And I know you addressed that, but to reiterate, and she says thank you for all you do and please stay healthy. So I think it's great that we are looking into Caldwell and like that Mila J.C., and hopefully she will have some ideas. I also wanted to know if we had in the works another diversity fair, because I don't think you can just have one and then stop, as well as looking at local colleges and recruiting from there for hiring. Two more points. I know at the moment they're still up in the air about graduation requirements, and it's a mess. And I know that we can't, deal with that right now. I just wanted to have you thinking about park refusals for those people, like what the procedure will be and when parents will be hearing about that for those people who choose to refuse. At least in the lower grades, and then who knows what's going to happen with the state. And then I think either last time or the time before when we talked about redoing the website, when looking into that, is it also possible to live stream in this? Because I know that we now worked on making the board, sorry, I'm losing my thinking. Yeah, so to work on making it live streamed instead of delayed, because a lot of times it's a week or two later, and it would be nice to have people, or sometimes people will text people who are at the board to say, hey, can you say this, if they weren't able to make it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Betsy Stevens at 21 Helen Avenue, and I just wanted to say that I've been so happy and I feel lucky to be in West Orange, where the teachers focus not just on teaching kids academics, but character and creating whole people to go out into the world. And I feel lucky that as a part of that effort, West Orange schools have embraced a program that I created called More Love, which also ran the same week of the Great Kindness Challenge. So I just wanted to update you guys about the week. It was an amazing week for both groups. This year we did something a little bit different. We gifted all of the elementary schools a book called Be Kind by Pat Z. Miller. And it's a great book. Miss Matz, the librarian at Gregory, chose that book, and she also created a lesson plan that all the librarians were able to use that week, so all the kids were getting that same lesson. One of our entries, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the organization, but basically children are given a card that has a specific number on it. They do something kind, pass that card on, get a wristband, and then they can track their card and see how far it travels. And we have had a card go as far as India last year, which was very exciting. This year, I think Texas was the farthest so far this year, but they're still traveling. In fact, there was just something on the website that was logged tonight. So kids, even though they can't get their wristbands any longer, but they're still putting the cards in, which I think is pretty amazing. Let me see if I can find the one. Oh, the one that was just put up today, a second grader from Hazel said, I went with my mom to the grocery store. There was an old lady whose bag broke. I went and got her a new bag so she could carry her groceries home. I also picked up the oranges that rolled everywhere. So, our favorite entry I wanted to share with you, one of our favorites this year, came from a third grader at Gregory who drew a picture of a puppy holding a heart and gave it to her neighbor with a card thanking her for being a good neighbor. But the part we liked the most was the student who wrote about it on the More Love website ended her story by saying, sharing love made me feel good. And that's what research has shown, that when you're teaching kindness, it's not just talking about it and telling about it and thinking about it, but actually feeling it. So I was happy that this child felt that. So, and I just want to end real quick, if I can, with there was a card that was passed on at Redwood. A second grader helped his grandfather. And then the grandmother got the card, and this is what she wrote. A coworker friend was getting laid off from a financial firm we work at. This really bothered me. Not just did we need his skill set for multiple projects, he's fantastic at his job and really nice to work with. I reached out to my influential contacts at the bank, calling in multiple favors in an effort to get him another role within the bank for his skill set. It was a Hail Mary effort due to the fact that he was being let go in 1 week. To my amazement, my inquiry went through multiple hiring managers and landed my friend an interviewing, starting immediately for an ideal position. It looks like he will be back at the firm in a couple of weeks. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. And thank you for supporting More Love. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is James Rawls. I live at 46 Warren Road, West Orange. I'm the president of the Mountaineer End Zone Club, which is the football booster program. I'm here joined by also members of the board from the football club, as well as some parents of the children who are in the football program. We're here tonight to find out if we can an update on the bubble. Our children are actively participating in the Liberty program, where they go there 4 days a week and do what they can with the limited weights and make use of the gym. We are pleased that that's an alternative that has been developed, but there's no substitute for the bubble. So as we can see just visually with our eyes, the bubble has been constructed, but yet the weights have not been moved into the bubble. So we were wondering what's the plan? When can we expect that our athletes, not only for the football program, but other sports, because they all benefit from utilizing the bubble, would be moved into that facility, and that they could start utilizing the equipment. So that's all we're here to talk about and ask.
Thank you.
Hi, Nicole Rufo, 4 Overlook Avenue. My family has 4 children in the West Orange schools, and 3 of them have food allergies. We have discovered our first was allergic to peanuts and tree nuts when he was almost 2 years old. It was a severe anaphylactic reaction and included a ride in an ambulance and a hospital stay. Since that fateful day, our family has had to learn a lot about food allergies, how to manage them, and where to find all the answers to our questions. The start to the school year is nerve-wracking for any parent, but it can cause severe anxiety for allergy families. Whenever I hear an ambulance near the school, my heart skips a beat. 1 in 13 children have food allergies, and that's possibly now 2 per classroom. And nearly 40% of these children have already experienced a severe allergic reaction, and many of them in school. We are so thankful to the staff of Gregory School for keeping our children safe on a daily basis. We are especially grateful that our principal has always placed them with just right teachers to accommodate their special needs. We also appreciate the school nurse, as she has given us a lot of information and guidance on managing food allergies within the school. As a former elementary school teacher myself, I managed a classroom with students with various food allergies. I did my best with the information that I was given by the school, the nurse, and the families, but now that I have my own children with food allergies, I wish I would have known more. I feel compelled to share the information I have learned for the benefit of all of the children. Each year I volunteer to be the class parent for my kids. I am lucky to have the ability to be in the classroom for parties and events as another line of defense. Not all parents have this ability. And I want to make sure our district has clear guidelines on how food safety is handled for all allergy families. Just this last month, we had 2 very close calls where food that may contain nuts was sent into the classroom and for one after-school event. I do my best as a class parent to educate the staff and parents, but I believe our school district must take the lead on educating everyone in our district about food allergies. In my time within the West Orange schools, I have seen an amazing and capable staff who are deeply and care deeply for the safety of our children. I have also seen that our district still has work to do. And I would love, my goal here tonight is to ask that our district creates an allergy awareness committee in order to update our allergy management plan and make sure that it is easily accessible for all families and staff online. I've put together these packets here for all of you with helpful information about food allergies. Soma Schools recently updated their allergy management plan, and it's included in here as a wonderful resource. I'm here to offer my time, my knowledge as the district looks at our current allergy management plan, how it's being implemented, and what needs to be updated. I'm happy to volunteer my time to work with the staff, school nurses, administration, PTAs, and board members to ensure a safe learning environment for all of our children. Can I pass these out?
Please.
Yeah.
Thank
Just, you know, teal is the color for allergy awareness. So
you. Okay.
Nice.
help you
Thank
learn all that.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone further for public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting. And Ms. Mendez can respond to some things.
We'll start with the bubble. We actually determined this evening that we're ready to go out to bid for the interior of the bubble. So we're hoping we'll have the advertisement in the newspaper at the end of the week, and then we can start sending bids out for the construction of the interior. Our plan is hopefully by the end of June, July, we'll have it completed. There is a date that's even further in the timeline, but we're hoping it's going to be sooner. But at some point during the construction, we're going to see if we can fence off the area where the kids will work out and actually bring in the equipment. So while construction is still going on the of certain parts of the bubble, then the students can still be in there in the weight room. So we're trying to make that happen as soon as possible.
All right, Ms. Gordon, regarding the diversity fair and adding another and working with our local colleges, you've heard some beginnings of conversation around that. So we'll publish as soon as we're ready to move forward with some set dates and specific training. Thank you for the heads up with the park refusals. I'll pay attention to that. With the website redesign, we are in process with setting up an RFP so that we can go out to bid for the website. The board, through policy, can then decide if they'd like to adopt a live stream for the board meetings, and if that's adopted, then we can easily integrate that into the website. With that, I say then we will include that capability in the RFP should the board decide to do that, so that it would be available. With regard to Ms. Redwine's email, yes, I received it, so I'm aware of the second point, and we're looking into that. Regarding Class 3 officers, we have integrated that as a conversation point through our security audit. And so then the audit will include that as a factor, a consideration, cost that out, give us some considerations to think about, and also some discussions that we'll need to have about do we want or do we not want armed people in our building, right, officers, et cetera. The board has to discuss that. Ms. Stevens, where are you? Thank you. Thank you for all you do with More Love, the influence and the culture that you're helping us develop in our school. Our students love the More Love program, and I think they all look forward to it each year, so thank you. Ms. Rufo, where are you? All right. Yes, so we've received your packet. We will go through it, and I know that you're working with Ms. Stupinan, right, specifically in your school, but we can look at this as a district-wide committee to look at allergy awareness and review the plan that you have provided for us so that we can consider how to make it accessible to the parents as you've asked. And I think that's it.
Okay. For Elizabeth, I'm not sure if our own personal opinions on A1400 are necessarily really relevant. Yeah, I saw it. I think the original legislation that created the Class 3 officers was a good idea. There's a lot of places in New Jersey that don't have closely located police departments. There's, I think, 100 or so different towns that have to contract with the state police for their coverage. So if those communities think that it's in their best interest to have someone in the schools and they can't afford a full-time officer, being able to hire a part-time retired cop as a Class 3 might make sense for them. The current legislation, I probably share a lot of concerns. I'm not sure that opening it up to everyone in that field necessarily, you know, if you're, I don't know, that, like, say, a juvenile detention officer is going to have the right mindset to transfer those skills into a school environment where it's a much, much different role as opposed to a, you know, regular police officer who's doing the protect and serve role and helping people who are, you know, stuck in traffic and accident scenes and providing comfort and not just, you know, disciplining kids. That's a different situation. But, you know, I don't know if that's necessarily going to be relevant other than, you know, we may be shown some suggestions in that regard when the security audit is complete. In terms of the website, that's a discussion the board will have to have and see if there is a policy that we want to create on live streaming or not. Betsy, more love. Thank you for everything you do. That's fantastic. I think we might need some bracelets for our kindness challenge up here too.
Yes.
For next year.
More love, more love.
Exactly. And Nicole, thank you for these. These look like a great resource. We'll have to look through these. Thank you very much. And we got the bubble update. I think that's everything on my list. Anyone else?
Just a couple things. Yeah, in regard to the bill and the use of Class 3 officers, this has already been, we've been engrossed in discussion on it, but we need to wait till, we really want to wait till the audit comes back before we formulate a final recommendation or make any changes in policies. But we are taking a comprehensive look at security for our schools, and very sensitive to feedback receiving on having armed officers of any type in the schools. In regard to the student in middle school and accusation of teacher bias, I would just say Ms. Demendez has to look into that, because if that were the case, if it's a case of bias, that could also be HIB, among other. It could be a conduct issue as well as HIB. And so that's something that become a personnel matter that we'd have to look into.
That would also be confidential because it
Yeah,
involves
it's a
a
personnel
student.
matter. Yeah,
It involves a
student.
student who is a minor.
Yep.
So it's confidential on both sides.
Absolutely. But we'd have to go through due
The
diligence
steps,
and the
yes.
proper process to properly investigate and handle it appropriately. And we should do that anytime somebody brings that concern forward. Ms. Stevens, love the passing on the kindness and the love, and you just, that was, yeah, we need to do more of that, and I love what we did in the past month. And in looking at the bubble that was answered, and Nicole, Ms. Rufo, thank you for this. This looks very comprehensive. Looks like you put a lot of work into that. And sure you don't want a job like heading up allergy or health information, because this is, oh my goodness. But thank you very much for doing that, because we could all be better educated on it. Now this is an opportunity to take a look back at policies. In regard to live streaming, Bloomfield does it. Some other districts actually do it. It may not require, to look back at the policy, it may not require a policy change. It may be more of a matter of tactical and execution. The board would still have to approve. When we did it in 2014, when we switched in 2014 from the TV broadcast only to YouTube, we didn't change the policy at that point. It was seen as a different form of broadcast, just another broadcast medium. But we did have to vote on adopting this new channel for communication. But you know, other districts are starting to do this to make the board meetings more accessible. And ours, you know, takes place on a Monday night usually, not the most accessible time. And for parents who want to get involved, live streaming, want to get involved, want to stay informed, live streaming is a very viable option. That's it for me. Thank you all for being, for the level of feedback and dedication and just passion that you share with us when you come to the mic. We appreciate that.
I just wanted to thank Ms. Rufo. Perhaps we can become a best practice in the state. And for you to have put this together, but now to also offer to work with us And again, I say I'm policy, so we're always interested in doing things for kids. So we thank you, and we will be in touch. Thank you.
I'd like to add my thanks as well to Mr. Rufo. Thank you for all your hard work, and definitely we will review it and work on it in our policy committee. And yes, more love is great. We need more love. Thank you.
All right. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a
So
motion.
moved. Oh, second.
We could break into a Beatles song, All You Need Is Love.
All we need is love.
I think we're done.
That's your
Da,
cue,
da,
Lauren.
da, da, da.
Everyone get
All
home
you
safe.
need is
Enjoy your
love.
snow day.
Stay warm.